Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Hey folks, welcome to today's Legends in Leadership podcast. I'm Dr. Blair Ritchie, and I'm the Executive Director of ISF. And with me are my co-hosts from the Carrington Group. Got three of you guys today. Way to go.
Good to have you.
Jason Smith, Kyle Watkins, and Tyler Tallman. And the Carrington Group is well represented here today. And it's a kind of a pattern we have that we start out our little podcast with a little trivia question to see what you know about legends and leaders. And we're just fascinated by those stories of legends start out from humble beginnings and end up making a difference in the world. So Tyler, I guess you got one for us today, right?
Yes, sir. So Thursday before Super Bowl, so I think this one is somewhat fitting, and maybe that's an extra hint to connect everybody. But today's legend immigrated to the U.S. from Pakistan as a teen to attend the University of Illinois. He worked as a dishwasher, earning a whopping $1.20 an hour. This was just to survive. And he brought a never-quit attitude and his engineering entrepreneurship to a young company called Flexingate, who was making its mark in the automotive components industry. After a brief stint with this company, he used his own savings, a $50,000 small business loan, to start his own company. Bumper Works was a smashing success and gave him the capital needed to go back and purchase Flexingate. Under his leadership, FNG has become a worldwide leader in the manufacture of automotive parts. As a hobby, this leader also is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL and a real football team in the English Premier League, Fulham FC. So who is this Pakistani-American dishwasher who became a billionaire business leader and philanthropist? So we'll come back at the end of the show and talk about that.
You have an idea about that one?
Yeah.
I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
are you guys looking at my screen? Are you cheating?
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, good. We'll see when our listeners can chime in on that one. That's a fun one. Well, we're excited today to welcome as our guest on Legends in Leadership, Kevin Burgess. Kevin is the Executive Director or Executive Vice President of Revenue for Ameriflex, which is a leading third-party administrator for consumer-driven healthcare products. What's kind of cool is we got to know Kevin through our friend Bart McCollum, who's president of Ameriflex, and was our guest at a podcast several episodes ago. And so we're delighted, Kevin. For the first part of your career, you spent as a pastor and served as a teaching minister of a very large congregation and oversaw the leadership development of that congregation, and then transitioned out of that ministry for more than a decade ago, and you're focused on organizational culture, strategy, and leadership development. Kevin has served as a consultant to a broad range of organizations and industries. He also works with a select group of executives as an executive coach. Kevin has been a trusted advisor to product development firms, tech startups, heavy industry companies, lifestyle brands, nonprofits, key players in the hospitality space, national chain restaurants, and more recently has entered into the wonderful healthcare world that's swirling about our country these days. Kevin is a noted speaker and is comfortable in front of 5 people as he is in front of 5,000 people, and a gifted communicator. He serves full-time at Ameriflex now, where he oversees all the marketing efforts, operations of their in-house revenue support team and national sales force. And while doing that, continues to consult on a limited basis, maintaining a small amount of executive coaching clients, and has a very active speaking schedule. So we're glad you carved out some time for us, Kevin.
Man, I got to give my assistant a raise because she makes me sound a lot better than I actually am. I told her put something together. I'm excited to hear what I'm going to say.
We're all about legends here. So, we like to begin a little bit with, your formative years and kind of how you started out, how you got to be you, and really what you learned early on about leadership from that.
Okay, well, so there I was in the fallopian tube. You didn't want to start that far back. Not that far back. Okay. So as you mentioned, I started out in ministry, and that was actually my childhood. My parents were missionaries. I grew up in Argentina.
Wow.
And so my whole life was kind of around churches and watching my parents try to organize volunteers who had all kinds of competing priorities. That was probably my first view of leadership. Of course, back then, leadership wasn't a subject people talked about. You just had to go get stuff, and so get stuff done. And so I guess my first understanding of leadership, and I didn't even know how to articulate it, was leadership is the ability to organize people to get something done. Mm-hmm. Like, that would have been my first. And grew up in a very grassroots kind of organization. And again, we really didn't talk about like, hey, we got to get this stuff done, and how do we organize and motivate these people to go get this thing done? And that was it. And so that probably gave me, and it was a really strange, childhood in many ways too, because I grew up in multiple worlds, never really fitting in any of them. So I'll tell you what I meant. So I was an American kid in Argentina, which was, first of all, odd. Mm-hmm. And then when we would come back stateside, I was more Argentine than I was American, so that was odd. And then I went to a school. It was like a diplomat. A lot of diplomats sent their children there. So these were really, really wealthy people, and we were missionaries, so we really, really were not. So I didn't fit in there. But then so my world was, you go to school, and then you go to church. And when we went to church, these were very, very poor people, and to them, we were extraordinarily wealthy. And so I had this disconnect there. And so, I was the poor kid in the rich kid setting. I was the rich kid in the poor kid setting. I was the American kid in the Argentine setting. I was the Argentine kid in the American setting. And so I kind of grew up always the outsider. But I don't, probably scarred me deeply, and I probably need therapy for it. But I don't feel like I do. But I think that more than anything gave me my perspectives, that I don't always see things as an insider. You and I were talking before the podcast started, like, I am full-time employee with Ameriflex, but one of the things I kind of insisted on, it's the first time I had not filled out like the tax information like you do for your whatever you call your W-4.
W-2.
W-2. I had not done that since I was in college. That's the last time I've been a 1099
W-4, yeah, right.
I was like, I don't even know how to do this. Yeah. I insisted when we made the agreement for me, I'd worked with them as a consultant for over a year, and they graciously invited me to join the team. I insisted that they let me continue to consult and speak on a limited basis, because otherwise in a few years I'll just be an insider and I'll lose that outsider perspective. So I would say that has really shaped my thoughts around leadership and organizational culture, is just viewing it through a different lens. And I think it's very easy to get so head down into something that you get myopic and you just don't see it as clearly as you could. Yeah. So
I resonate with your story, because you've transitioned from a nonprofit world of church leadership into a for-profit world, working with businesses and coaching business leaders. And I'm intrigued. What do you bring from that learnings of the church world? Of the nonprofit trying to lead herd cats and lead churches into leadership.
First of all, and this is probably just a little inside joke that only you'd get. Here in the South, I would dispute the fact that churches are not profitable.
That's good. I like that.
Very well said.
I think they're extraordinarily profitable. But that's a whole other conversation that we could have. Yeah. And they should be. God bless them, literally. But I think the lessons translate, because at the end of the day, it's people. And you can make a distinction of, okay, I'm having to lead volunteers. Leadership is always getting people to go where they otherwise would not. Whether you're so it's so interesting to be like, wow, that's really hard, because, man, actually in some ways it's easier, because if I have a volunteer staff at a church, this is something they care deeply about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they're motivated to do it. I deal with managers and supervisors all the time in companies that they have people, they're just there to get a paycheck, right? They're not passionate about what they're doing. Trying to motivate an hourly employee who is not super passionate about what they're doing is a whole lot harder than motivating a really passionate volunteer at your nonprofit. There's a whole lot more artistry, I think. People think the challenge is on the nonprofit side. I don't think so at all. Most people are not working in a role that they feel deeply passionate about. They should. They should. And I think one of the things a leader can do that really is transformative for people is to help them figure out the real value in what it is that they're doing. So you mentioned your breakfast today was a bagel. So for a long time, I started most days at Einstein Bagels close to my house. So I would go work out. I don't look like it, but I do. I'd go work out, and then I'd go have a bagel, which explains a lot. And I'd be in there really early. So I'm in there like 6:15. They'd open. I'm at the gym at 5, and 6:15 I'm in Einstein's. And there was this girl that worked there, and I'm certainly not mocking her. It's just she had heavily accented English, but she was lit up, man. At 6:50 in the morning, she's like, "Oh, Mr. Kevin, so good to see you." And she knew my car. Like when I would pull in, I would walk in and my order would be waiting. And one day I told her, I was like, "Janelle, I don't always want a bagel. Sometimes I just want coffee." And she's like, "Not a problem, not a problem. You flash your lights when you pull in, and if you flash your lights, I won't have the bagel. It'll just be the coffee." And like customer service over the top, right? Yep. And then she would, when the line would die down, she's running around, she's filling coffee, she's greeting everybody by name, she's going out of her way. If she doesn't know you, she's learning your name. So one night, at 6:15 in the morning, I don't want anybody to look at me. And so I flagged her down. I was like, "How are you so excited at 6:15 in the morning?" And she said to me, I'll never forget this, "Oh, Mr. Kevin, I have a very important job." I was like, "No, you don't." I didn't say that. I told you. I'm thinking like you're selling bagels and coffee. You're not curing cancer, right? I mean, give me a break. And I said, "Well, tell me how your job's so important." And she pointed out to North Central Expressway, which if you live in Dallas, you also know that as hell. And she points out there and she said, "See all those people?" She said, "Most of them got up super early. They're going to jobs they really don't care about." She said, "That was my mom. My mom sat in that traffic every day." Said, as a matter of fact, she would get up early. She would make lunches. She would get us all up, get us dressed, get us out. Then she would sit in that traffic to go to a job she didn't care about. She would come home, sit in that same traffic to do dinner and homework and baths and laundry. And she did that every day. She said, "Most of the people walking in here, that's what they do." And she said, "It is my job." Now, I'm going to tie this back to what we were just talking about. She said, "It is my job to give them 2 good minutes in their day because it may be the only 2 good minutes they've got."
Wow.
So what she did is she took the job of selling bagels and coffee and elevated it. She found this incredible meaning in it and elevated. I mean, when she finished, I was like, "Well, I want to sell bagels and coffee." She elevated. I think if there's any gift a leader can give the people they lead, it would be to help them find that meaning in what they do. And it is in everything, right? It's in everything. This is the Martin Luther King deal. If a man's a street sweeper, he should sweep streets. I can't spill the whole, but to the point that the angels of heaven will come down and go, "There was a great street sweeper." Like, help people find that meaning in what they do. And if a leader can do that, you're going to be transformative for people.
Isn't there just a practical side to this too? Because are you familiar with Simon Sinek?
Of course.
Yeah, and Simon Sinek had a video out not long ago that was talking about millennials and this idea of them wanting to find this purpose in their life and what does that really look like. And millennials get picked on a lot, and I'm here to defend them. But how do you help steer someone to their purpose in their life? Isn't there just a practical side that, hey, sometimes you got to do things that you don't like to do, and hey, I got to make a living because I've got to put food on the table for my family, but it's not always fun. So how do you really steer people to this passion, I guess you could say, or help them find that passion?
Yeah. No, okay. So, boy, you just unpacked a lot. We only have like 16 minutes here, and I got like 3 hours on that. First of all, you don't have to defend millennials to me. I'm a champion of millennials. Everybody should be because they're here. It's the largest transformation in the American workforce since baby boomers. So, everybody that's griping and whining, get over it because you got to deal with this. And they're right. They want to know that what they're doing. So let's back up. It's one thing to say, "This is my passion." It's another thing to say, "This is meaningful." I cannot always connect someone to their passion. I can't guarantee you're going to get paid for the rest of your life to do your passion. maybe not. That doesn't mean that the work you're doing is not meaningful, right? I think we often conflate the two and we go, well, I'm not passionate about this, so it doesn't mean anything. Well, just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that, like, let me tell you something. Okay, I'll tell them. I said, I really don't like kids that much. I like my kids. I got 3 of them. They're great. And the more they get like adults, the more I like them. I really don't like small children. Give me a break. They just kind of bug me a lot.
So, when do you become a grandfather?
I hope it'll change. I hope it'll change. But I really don't. It's honestly, like, I'm the guy that if your kid's screaming in a restaurant, I'm probably going to come say something. Like, I'm not paying $80 to hear your kid scream. There are people that, man, they're passionate about working with children, and it's deeply meaningful for them.
It's my wife.
Yeah. So, I can't always guarantee your passion is going to align with your life's work. What I can guarantee you is work is meaningful, and it is the job of a leader to find that meaning in the work and then communicate it that, even if it's not. So I'll give you an example. At Ameriflex, I'm ostensibly in charge of the marketing team. We got some really smart marketers. They know a lot more than I do, and they just feed me good ideas and make me look good. But we're having to talk. They're really bright and just super talented. But we start having this conversation. Now, what we do at Ameriflex is not sexy. It's not exciting. Like, if you have a Flex spending account, like a little card where you donate money to it out of your paycheck every month, and then you can use it, that's what we do. Like, come on. I say we sell governors for like 1992 Toyota Camrys, so you can make it last 400,000 miles instead of 200,000. Like, it couldn't be more boring. So how do you find meaning in that? Well, we start having a conversation, and we said, how much money? Because if you're donating money to that flex spending account, that's tax savings. You don't get taxed on that. How much money have we helped our participants save? Well, it runs into the millions of dollars. If Bart was here, he could quote you that to the penny, and he's probably disappointed that I can't. I might hear about that. But that translates. So then we start talking about, well, what does that mean? Maybe that's a family going on vacation that otherwise would not have. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a down payment on a house for a young family that helps them get there a lot quicker. That could be a kid's college tuition, top of mind for me. I got 2 of them there. So now we've taken this really boring niche industry thing, and we found tremendous meaning in it. And so now we talk about that with our team. Hey, guys, you're not just here processing claims. You're not here just helping onboard this client. You may be sending a really family that desperately needs some time together. You may be sending them on vacation this year. Now we've got meaning attached to what we do. Is it their passion? Probably not. Nobody was ever 9 years old dreaming of their future going, man, I'm going to be a claims processor at a TPA. That never happens, right?
But you can get passionate about the meaning
when you find them. Yeah. Absolutely. And so the job of the leader is not to connect a person. The most foolish advice ever gives: go follow your passion. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's stupid. Find meaning in what you're doing. That's gold, man. That'll get you out of bed in the morning. That'll keep you on it when you would otherwise quit.
So we talked a little bit about individuals and helping lead the role of the leader, and helping individuals press into meaning and lean into meaning, find it in that. Let's talk about organizations.
All right.
And we were talking a little bit earlier about what you say to the person who says, people are my greatest asset, most important asset, which sounds like I see that all around.
It's warm and fuzzy. Yeah. Makes you feel good to say it.
So talk about organizational life and culture.
Could not be more wrong. People tell me that people are our most important asset. Boy, I feel sorry for you if that's true. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I have a workshop and a keynote speech all on this whole idea that people are not your most important asset. So I was with a group in Palm Springs over the summer. Wasn't the keynote. I had been working with this group for about 6 months, developing a leadership mentoring program for young leaders in their organization. So I was there to give a speech about that, and they wanted me to talk about this whole people are not your most important asset thing. And so, as a matter of fact, let me see. Yeah, this is a big thing with me. I call it the VIP formula. This is to clean your glasses. I got a bunch of these. The VIP formula. This is a big candy stick. Here's a camera over here. VIP formula. VIP formula is a formula based on the idea that people are not your most important asset. So there's a formula of priorities that really effective leaders use, and people are not at the top of that priority list. So I get their speaker, the keynote speaker was Lou Holtz, which is really cool.
Okay, there you go, Coach.
Got to hang out with Coach Lou, and so he's like, well, what are you going to talk about? And I told him, he's like, really? They're not? And I was like, no.
They were on my team.
Yeah, he said, well, yeah, you actually said, he's like, I always made them proud. I said, well, Coach, I mean, I'm not going to tell Lou Holtz, yeah, you had it all wrong, Coach. So it was really cool. I got my picture taken with Coach Lou, but anyway, so yeah. Leaders tell me this. People are our most important asset. Well, then I start talking to them about what's making them crazy. What do you think it is?
The people.
Yeah.
People. So let me get this straight. The thing you value the most is also the thing that makes you want to quit every day. That doesn't make sense. So before I tell you what the most important priority should be for a leader, I'll tell you what the VIP formula is. It's what is the most important, what's the most important priority for a leader? Let me tell you why people are not. First of all, things are valuable because of their scarcity, right? And there's a reason why diamonds are more valuable than gravel, because there's a lot more gravel. People are not scarce. I hate to just, there's 8 billion of us wandering around the planet, more every day. I watch leaders in fear of replacing a low performer because, man, what are we going to do to replace old Joe, man? You'll be fine. Trust me. People are like, yeah, but he's got 20 years of industry knowledge. Maybe he's figured out how to game the system and he's just been sandbagging for 20 years. Or maybe he has there's a lot of people. There's a lot of talented people. There's a lot of smart people. And I'm not down on people. I've spent an entire career on the premise that, man, I want to help people excel. But people are not scarce. Secondly, their priorities shift over time. So you're going to make them your number one priority. As a leader of an organization, you're going to make them your number one priority. They're not making your organization their number one priority. If they can get $5 more an hour, they're gone. Also, some people are good for one stage of organizational life, but not for the next. Mm-hmm. And so you got this huge loyalty to old Joe again, man. When there was only 4 of us in a warehouse, he was there. Well, now there's 4,000 of you spread across 5 states. And old Joe's still holding a key influencer position, and he's never grown beyond that warehouse. Mm-hmm.
And you promoted a guy who was great at that job.
He was great
into leading an organization instead of doing the work that he was good at.
Yeah, but here's the real kicker. Here's how I know people are not the most important priority. It should not be the number one priority of a leader. They are a priority, not the number one. It's because no significant organization ever started by 10,000 people getting in a room and going, let's start something. Well, what are we going to start? Well, we don't know, but man, we got a bunch of people. That's not a thing. That's not how it works. What happens is somebody has an amazing idea, and they go to market and they battle and they refine that idea and they test that idea, and over time, if it proves valuable, people start to aggregate to the idea. So we love the story that Microsoft started in a garage and this company started in a basement, and we love those stories. Well, guess what was present when it started? 1 or 2 people and an idea. So we have a word for that. It's an overused word and it's a misunderstood word, but that word is vision. And really the simplification of vision is that thing, the reason your organization exists. That's your vision. That should be a leader's number one priority. So when I talk about the VIP formula, it's a formula for effective leadership, and here it is. People are part of it, but they're not at the top. It's vision, integrity, people. Now, I can literally talk for 6 hours on that, but it's vision, integrity, people. That's it. And it starts with vision, man. If you don't have vision, because I watch organizations that lose their vision, and guess what happens? All the people go away. Mm-hmm. So if I can harken back to the ministry days, King Solomon, wisest man arguably to ever live, said that where there's no vision, people are scattered, right? So people aggregate to vision, and when vision goes away, all the people leave. In this, if we had time, I could tell you story after story after story. Toys R Us started out with a very simple vision. We're going to make the most innovative toys possible available to children. That was their vision. At some point they lost that, and they said, we're just going to resell toys like all the other big box stores, and they're gone. It's vision, it's integrity, but integrity to what? Most leaders get this wrong. Their first integrity is to people. The compromise leaders are always asked to make, and I'm hurrying, but the compromise they're always asked to make is to satisfy people, is to sacrifice the vision to satisfy people. And this happens in ways big and small, right? Hey, could we just do this one thing different? If we do, it'll make old Joe happy. So I'll give you a real world example. Worked with a company, they're a national chain. They install full home water purification systems. So one of the early conversations we had with them is, what business are you guys in? Like, you need to know that. And they said, well, we're really a plumbing company. I was like, no, you're not. You're selling a $10,000 system to luxury homeowners. You're not a plumber. You're selling a lifestyle product. You're selling a health and wellness and beauty lifestyle product. Mm-hmm. So guess what? If you're a plumbing company, you can let your service guy show up in a greasy stained t-shirt, smelling of cigarette smoke and everything else. That's fine for a plumber. If you're showing up selling a luxury item for health, wellness, and beauty, that guy needs to look sharp. Okay? So we said, guys, you got to wear uniforms, and we're going to give you a bunch of uniforms. They're going to be fresh and pressed, and if you go on a job and you get dirty, it happens. You put on a clean shirt. Like, this practical change around this stuff. So the vision is we're selling a health and wellness luxury item. That's the vision. Well, one of the store managers said, hey, man, he said, I got a guy, one of my service techs named Ding. Now, his nickname was Ding, which tells you everything you need to know, right? Ding ain't going to wear the uniform. Could we just, man, do we have to make Ding wear the uniform? We don't have to. But what the question you're asking is, can I compromise the vision for a person? Mm-hmm. Anytime you do that, it is the beginning of the end. I'm telling you, you don't ever do that. He's like, well, what do we do? You cut Ding loose. Ding will be okay. Ding actually went to work for the city sanitation department. He is true story. Ding wound up working for the city sanitation department. That was a good fit for him.
He's completely happy. Take it away over there.
Fits. I mean, it's a marriage made in heaven. So that's your formula. It's vision, integrity, and then people. You want to be. People are part of a leader's priority, absolutely. But there's things that trump that, and when I watch leaders get in trouble, it's when they get that priority structure wrong, and their priority becomes people, and to do that they sacrifice vision.
I thought it was interesting too, talking about, it's the whole premise. We spend a lot of time grinding on it. What got you here won't get you there,
right?
And here you are starting off with this vision, so one or two people, and then you slowly hire some people to help you to go and deliver on that vision. But over time, those people may not be the people that got you here, but they can't get you there. So what does that look like in your mind when you kind of reach a peak point and you go, man, we need, you got to look at hiring different people, and you got to look at hiring different minds. How do you approach that?
It's a hard conversation, and it's painful for leaders because we want to be loyal to people. You got to keep your destination in mind. So had a mentor explain it to me this way. He's like, if you're leading an organization, you're driving a bus, and you're going to 125th Street. There's going to be people get on at First Street. And you're like, this is awesome. We're going to 125th Street, but then a bunch of them are going to get off at 15th Street. That's okay. You keep going to 125th Street because more people are going to get on, and you're probably not going to get to 125th Street with the same crowd you started at First Street with. It's going to shift. You keep your destination in mind. I would say this. Two things a leader has to be absolutely clear about. His vision, first of all, his values. And the values are the things we're going to do because we have this vision. And that can be a simple list. It can be a very complex list. But then as you're hiring, those two things are top of mind. Because skills can be acquired, skills can be learned. if someone aligns with your vision, and it's always bringing people back into alignment too, because again, their priorities shift over time. So that's why you bring up an excellent point. They're good at this stage of organizational life, then they're not. Well, if the organization didn't change, they changed. Mm-hmm. Now they can fail to grow and evolve with the organization. That's on them. I say you provide opportunities for that. Make sure you're coaching people towards that. When you're out looking for people to get you there, it's, do they align with the vision? Do they align with the values? I think most hiring managers get so hyper-focused on skill sets, right? They're hiring for skill sets, and you might have someone that just doesn't want to go where you're going.
Mm-hmm. So how do you coach leaders? Let's say Carl Jung said that ideas have people. People don't have ideas. Right. And so is there a point at which that leader that's brought forth this vision or the idea is no longer the person to carry it forward with the same level of integrity and execution?
Sure. And I think you saw an amazing example of that in American life. There was a point at which, Jobs was fired from his own company. Mm-hmm. Now, he was brought back later because it rekindled something. A couple of things around that. First of all, is part of that job of that leader is to inculcate that vision into the organization so that it outlives him. Okay. Right? Herb Kelleher did a great job of that. Mm-hmm. A masterful job. That's a case study. So harken back to my ministry days. I was preaching pastor at a large church. I left there to start a church, and I didn't do it by carving out a few hundred folks from where I was working and taking with me. I started in my living room with 2 people I could browbeat into showing up. And someone asked me, as I'm going through this process, how will you know that you've successfully done this? Is it when you have a certain number of people? It's when you have a building? How do you know? And I said, when it can outlive me. That's how I know I've been faithful to my vision. It has outlived me. And I would say any leader that is, pursuing that vision, how do you know you've done it well? It's when it's so inculcated in the organization that I could step away and it would still come to pass. Mm-hmm.
And it's been gold, and this is where I get really frustrated that we only have a 30-minute podcast. So you got to promise to come back.
Anytime. And thank you for having me.
Oh, my gosh.
This is super honored.
This has been super gold, and we just thank you, Kevin, for being part of this. But before we go, we do have a lingering trivia question we got to circle back. So
we have to hear what Kevin's favorite book is first.
Oh, you want that?
Yeah,
okay.
We got to.
All right. For the sake of time, I always missed
that. Put the 2019 reading list together. I've got to know.
Okay. I'm struggling with this one because I read a ton. Mm-hmm. So I know, and I really putting this book here with ISF in mind.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot is about, and these are young leaders. I think this is an absolutely essential read for young leaders. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Yep. Absolutely essential read for young leaders, because if anything's going to derail you, it's going to be your ego. So absolutely essential read. So,
thanks, Kevin.
Good.
More gold.
Yay.
And so the answer to our trivia question is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shahid Khan.
Yay.
Shahid Khan.
Yeah.
He's actually the 3rd richest NFL owner. I was reading about that this morning.
That's interesting.
$27 billion net worth. So.
Yeah, not bad for a dishwasher.
That's right.
No, not at all.
Dang. Mm-hmm. Dang. Well, that's a wrap for our program today, folks. So on behalf of my co-hosts here from the Carrington Group, as well as our special guest, Kevin Burgess, this is Dr. Blair Ritchie wishing you a wonderful, wonderful day. And just remember this, that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader.
Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group, Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.